Hands up if you took the bus to school today. Hands up if you walked. Now hands up if you drove in the car. I think it's safe to say that most people drove in the car to school today. Since we're talking lately about ways we can minimise our environmental footprint, we're going to look at what impact different modes of transport have on the environment. However, we will need to use maths to figure out which is our number one option, and also to understand why this one is the best. So our aim today is to find out what modes of transport have the least environmental impact and are the most cost effective. Firstly, we need to work out how we can determine which mode of transport is the best for the environment and the most cost effective. This can be done by using equations. Mathematically, we can use equations and statistics to find the best mode of transport to use to lower our environmental impact and which is most cost effective. However, to do this we need some information about each form of transport. Based on where our school is located, I have some information we can use. If we were closer to a train station, the train would definitely be an option. However, we're going to use the three that we can, which are cars, walking, and taking the bus. In the table we are given the cost per litre, the litres used per week, and the CO2 emitted per litre for each of the three modes of transport. The table says that the cost per litre for cars is 113.2 cents per litre. It also says on average the car may use around 10 litres per week driving to school and back. It also says that the CO2 emitted per litre is 2.36 kilograms. The information we have about walking is very hopeful, as it costs nothing and uses no litres per week and emits no CO2. It is clear that walking may be our number one choice. However, it is important to look at all the options, and walking may not always be available. The bus is very similar to the car, as it costs 113.2 cents per litre. However, on average, a school bus can use up to 160 litres per week. It also emits around 2.36 kilograms of CO2 per litre. We can use two different equations and the information we have in the table to find out which transport is the most cost effective and environmentally friendly. The two equations we can use are, firstly, to find the cost of the transport, we will use the equation cost of fuel times litres used each week equals cost per week. Secondly, to find out the environmental impact of the transport, we need to use the equation carbon emitted per litre times amount of litres used per week equals carbon emissions per week. Now that we have the statistics we need and the equations we need, we can substitute the information into the equations to get our results. As we will see in these two tables, by substituting the information into the equations, we will come up with answers that we can use to determine the best transport. In the table, you will see where each piece of information has been placed into the equation. For the car, we have multiplied the cost of fuel, which is 113.2 cents per litre, by the litres used, which is 10 litres, to solve that the car is costing around $11.32 per week. Walking as a mode of transport didn't have any number value for any category, so the results came to $0 per week. We then times the cost of fuel for the bus, which was 113.2 cents per litre, by the litres used each week, which was 160 litres, to get the results 181.12, which means the bus costs $181.12 per week. Our next step is to take the same method and use it in our environmental impact table. In the car column, we have to times 2.36 kilograms, which is the carbon emitted per litre, by 10 litres, which is the amount of litres used per week, to get an answer of 23.6 kilograms of CO2 per week. Again, like the cost per week table, walking has no number value in any section. Therefore, multiplying 0.00 kilograms by 0.00 litres gives us the answer of 0.00 kilograms of CO2 per week. Finally, to get our results for the bus, we need to multiply 2.36 kilograms of carbon emitted per litre by 160 litres used per week. The answer comes to 377.6 kilograms of CO2 per week for the bus. Through comparing and contrasting the different results we have recorded for each individual mode of transport, we can find out which one is the best choice. This is a crucial stage in solving our mathematical problem. We have our results, but we need to compare them to see what their true value to us and the environment is. After our comparison, we can see that walking is the winner in the cost category. While it seems that the car is cheaper than the bus, we have to take into consideration that there are only usually 2 people in the car, but there can be around 40 people on one bus at a time. So to find out how much it would cost per person, we need to divide the cost per week for the car and the bus by the amount of people who travel in them. Once we complete the division, we can see that the bus only costs $4.53 per week per person, whereas the car cost $5.66 per week per person. Of course, being students, you don't have to pay for the bus because you have your bus passes. Now we have to do the same process to the environmental footprint results so that we can see how much CO2 each person is emitting each week. After we do this, we can see that while the car seemed to emit less CO2, the bus actually has a better outcome per person. If everyone drove a car, then the amount of CO2 would be much larger than everyone catching the bus. What we have done today is compare the different modes of transport and their environmental impact as well as weekly cost. By getting our information and putting it into equations, we have found out which mode was best. We then look closely at our results to find which one really had the best outcome, as there are always other factors we need to take into consideration, such as how many people are travelling on that mode of transport. Imagine now if we looked at everyone who drove to work and not just school. By lowering the amount we use the car and choosing to walk or catch the bus more, there would be very positive impacts on the environment.